YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I've got a RubberDuckofWar again, and if you want to check out his YouTube channel, you can. I'll have it linked, versus By My Beard. That is an excellent name for a Clan Angrund player, and I think very well done. So we're going to see a Lizardmen versus Dwarves matchup here. This one should be interesting. Lizards obviously have a lot of anti-armor, anti-infantry type capabilities. The Dwarves definitely have some things that can be a pain for the Lizardmen, like AP missiles and other stuff like that, the artillery. But let's see what the players have chosen. For the Lizardmen, we're going to have 3 units of Saurus warriors with shields. There are going to be a few red-crested skink units, which is a cheaper armor-piercing infantry. We've got a Stegodon here, and another one in the middle, so 2 of them. They do have some range capability, not massive, but they can pick at stuff from range and cause a little damage. We have a red-crested skink chief for the Lord of the Lizardmen, and is supported by Lord Croak. Now, as for clan, and there are 3 Pterodon riders. A couple of them were Vanguard deployed quite a ways off. Now, for the Dwarves, we're going to have, I believe it's 5 units of miners with blasting charges. This is a good idea, just to try and do damage to infantry. You know you're not going to do great in this fight with any of the Dwarf stuff, so they went cheap, and then loaded up on Slayers. There's going to be a lot of Slayers. So there's 3 regular Slayers in the front line. There are 2 giant Slayers in the back line, plus the Dragon Pack Slayers, and then you have a Longbeard with Great Weapon, a Dwarf Lord, and then some Bugman's Rangers. The Bugman's Rangers are an interesting pick. They're shielded and stuff, of course. But they also replenish. Gonna make them pretty competent at staying alive for a long time in a fight like this. But interesting enough, no artillery and no guns for the Dwarves. It's an odd choice, in my opinion, versus the Lizardmen, but maybe these players know something I don't, like, oh, only noobs take guns, and here's why. I mean, I don't know why that would be, but, I mean, I would certainly be picking Thunderers against the Lizardmen, because there are so many targets of opportunity, or certainly a cannon, you know what I mean? Like, a cannon is great. Like, Lord Croak would be in big trouble. Anyway, nice miners with blasting charges action here. I mean, they absolutely flame-seared these Saurus warriors with shields. Caused a lot of damage to them, which this is good. This is what the Dwarves need to do if they want to win. They're going to have to damage up these infantry lines, because Saurus warriors with shields are going to be pretty solid against anything that the Dwarves have in this particular match. They don't have really high attack, but when they do hit, they hit hard with 52 weapon strength. Armor piercing or not, that's a lot of weapon strength. It's very high, especially for their price range. Again, their melee attack is not very high, but when these dudes hit, it hurts. And then they pack 60 armor, which is pretty respectable. It means that anything they're fighting against, they're going to have some survivability. So Saurus warriors are really a great mid-tier unit, and they're going to be best against low armor infantry, which is not the Dwarves, for the most part. But with all these Slayers on the battlefield, they'll actually be pretty decent in that regard. See the Pterodon riders in here taking a couple shots at the Slayers. I think that's probably a good idea. You can see here the Saurus warriors were probably hoping to get a hold of these Slayers, but instead they end up having to fight some Saurus warriors. Not going to be something that they really, want. They would rather be in with the Slayers, but I don't think the miners are going to do well. They just don't have the attack stats to really accomplish much, although their armor will make them a little more survivable. See here the Stegodon just plows straight in the miners to try and keep them from throwing their blasting charges. There is a Longbeard with Great Weapon there. That unit is immune to psychology. You can see Croak's going to throw in some support early. It's a good idea to kind of be following these single entities with Croak, and I can see the strategy here brought in by RubberDuckofWar. Again, makes a lot of sense. Units are going to have to blob to try and kill the Stegodon, and so it's basically a trap. You hone in on the Stegodon, and then you're going to get hit by Croak. And in that case, it was some pretty expensive units. Dragonback Slayers move in, though, and you can see the Stegodon really doesn't want to stay in that fight, because the poison on the Dragonback Slayers will slow it down and make it a big mess. It also reduces the damage, I believe. Drops it. So Stegodon here, plowing through some Slayers and Miners. I mean, it is a pretty close fight still. See Croak back here. Probably hoping to come up here and put some support in. With Croak, one of the biggest challenges, obviously, is that he's very expensive, first and foremost. Secondly, his Deliverance of Pizzas use up, Deliverance of Pizza, got it wrong there, which we saw another one go off there, is Very expensive, so you don't always get a whole lot of spells. You got to make it worth your while. He's got 44 kills. We'll see how much value it equates to after the battle, and he may get more, of course. There's a Dwarf Lord here. He is all tied up with Saurus warriors. Not a great place for the Dwarf Lord. He'll get some kills there, but it's not really where he wants to be. And the red-crested Skink Chief is going to be doing really nice damage against this armored Dwarf Lord. Even though he's an anti-large unit, his AP will be very handy. And then, yeah, it's not where that Dwarf Lord wants to be. Yeah, he's poisoned too. Holy crap! Opal Amulet, Warrior's Crest. Yeah, I mean that's going to be one tough little skink for the duration of that. And you can see that the Dwarf Lord got absolutely shredded. Oh, here comes a level 3 Deliverance of Pizza. There was a big blob of dwarves, but they started to move out right when Croak used it. He did manage to still get some kills, but a biggest part of that blob of dwarves got away from it. And that was very fortunate for Clan Angrund. He was about to deliver a death blow to the Dawe, but now Croak is actually in big trouble. There's some Dragonback Slayers, Giant Slayers. This is not good news for Croak and the Stegodon. I heard another spell spinning up from Croak. He had to spin the sound for his attack animations. He has pretty cool animations. Go check it out real quick. These Slayers, though, are going to really be tearing a hole through this undead Toad and his Stegodon. Yeah, I think it was just the sound effects on him. I love the sound design in the Total War of Warhammer games. It's very good. Hopefully we get lots of cool sounds like this in historical games too. Yeah, I see Croak took a pretty savage beating here. He's lost all of his hit points. The Stegodon's gone down. Now these Giant Slayers are going to absolutely rip straight through Croak. Red-crested Skinks and Stegodon have regrouped in the background. Here goes Lord Croak. He is done. He's going back to Toad Heaven. Back into the Geomantic Network. The Dwarf Lord got routed by the little red-crested Skink Chief. He's going to be caught out here by a bunch of Slayers, though, and this is not exactly great for the Skink Chief. He doesn't have a lot of armor, and although he's not a large target, this is a lot of Slayers. Something like that Skink to be fighting. Bugman's Rangers, because of their healing, are still in the fight. This can make them pretty deadly at times. See, there's a Saurus Warrior inbound here, probably to come try and support the red-crested Skink Chief. That's indeed what they're going to do, and he needed this bad because he would have died in a melee with these Slayers, so that is very, very good for the Lizardmen, not so great for the Dwarves. They have a miner with blasting charges here, got the cohort of Sotek, which looks like it's racked up a fair number of kills, and these Slayers were hoping to finish this regrouped Stegodon. Understandable. Understandable, so pretty scrappy fight here. It's kind of split up all over the place now. The Dwarves about at the halfway mark here in terms of balance of power, though I would say, oh boy, I don't know, this one's pretty close at the moment. And it depends on how a few things go. Okay, yeah, the red-crested Skink Chief's gonna get out over here and attack these Bugmans. That's a good move. I want to say I would give just a hair advantage here to the Lizardmen. This cohort of Sotek is gonna be handy. They did get this Stegodon away. They've still got a couple of flyers around, and their Lord is in pretty healthy condition here. This fight would have soured against the Saurus Warriors, but the arrival of the cohort of Sotek here, these Saurus Warriors and their Skink brethren, I believe are going to cut their way through this. So this does not bode well for the Dawi, I don't think. And this game's beautiful, and you know what's even more fun? When I played Warhammer 3, it's even more beautiful. Remember, I didn't even get to play Warhammer 3 on my own machine. It was streamed from another machine to mine. So, man, I'm looking forward to it. It's a beautiful looking game. I love me some Total War Warhammer. It is great. I'm so glad that Warhammer found its way into the Total War series. I know some people may not think so. Oh my gosh, it has just been so good for Total War. But here's to hoping that we get lots more Total War games. Some people have been asking me about what I think of Three Kingdoms kind of getting turned out early. Yeah, this is a close fight, but it looks like, yeah, it is swinging in favor of the Lizardmen. If these dwarf units were a little closer over here, I don't know, this may get turned around, but they're just too far away. They were chasing the Stegodon. They're just not going to catch it. If they had been over here closer, that might be enough to turn this thing around, but with the Lizards being able to kind of single this stuff out, I think they'll still win. But in any case, I mean, what do I think about Three Kingdoms getting its support cut off early? Well, I think it kind of stinks. I don't like to see any Total War game get its stuff cut off early, but I can tell you this much about Three Kingdoms. There was quite a bit of hype building up to it. I thought it was a pretty game. I think it's pretty fun to play. It's not bad. It has some issues like any other Total War game, but it has a lot of high points. The graphics engine in it, for instance, is much better than the one in Warhammer in terms of the way it performs with your hardware and the way it scales on better hardware. You know, all that said, the battles just weren't very fun for me. It just never clicked. It wasn't that great. A lot of cool ideas in the game. And the player base on it, like, I think it sold pretty well, if I remember right. Like, it sold pretty fast. But then the player base just dropped off real quick. And I have to assume that it's probably for reasons similar to what I just said. Like, it just didn't stick for people. Just didn't stick. Now, if that is the case, I'm not going to say why. I mean, it didn't I don't know. People may not agree. It's fine. It just didn't stick. That's all I know. That's probably why CA cut it. And some people might be like, they said there was supposed to be more DLC. I'm mad. I want CA to fix it. I really don't. Like, if a game's not making them money, they need to just abandon it and move on. And don't waste any more resources on it. So, like, for instance, Three Kingdoms, I think, was an interesting time period. I think they tried hard on it. For whatever reason, it didn't stick. Just cut your losses and move on. And they said they're making another Three Kingdom type game. Some people have just assumed it's a Total War game. That may not be the case. They may be making a non-Total War game focused on the romance of the Three Kingdoms, right? I don't think they specifically said that it was a Total War game. Not very well could be. Could be some kind of saga series that's based there. I have no idea. But clearly they didn't think it was worth their development time to stick with it and move on. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I know some people are really mad about it, and they probably want me to be mad about it too. I'm just not that invested in Three Kingdoms, so it doesn't hit me that hard. It stinks for the people who are, and I feel bad for them, especially if you like just went and bought it on sale recently and then find out that the game you bought's no longer going to be supported. I mean, that definitely kind of sucks. But you know, I don't know. Like, does it really bother me? No, because I don't play it a lot. So I want them to do better, right? Three Kingdoms wasn't bad. It just didn't stick. If you're gonna pull out of it, fine. Learn from it and go do better. You know, don't do that anymore. Anyway, let's check out RubberDuckofWar here. Yeah, Croak didn't get great value, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. He's pretty expensive, so hard to pay for himself. Did a lot of damage, just not a ton of value there. The cohort of Sotek did fantastic, 1478, and still had life left. I mean, that is pretty solid. Good performance from these Saurus warriors for sure. And pretty decent performance out of one of the Stegodons here, too. Take a look at the dwarves here. The Lord was not able to get a lot of value. The miners, remember, only cost about 400. And all in all, I mean, they not bad, like I think, considering their average. Slayers, some of them, yeah, like this one, the Dragapack Slayers did very well. These Giant Slayers did very well. This one did pretty well. Bugmans did pretty solid work. Dwarves just didn't have enough units to finish it. I still kind of think, though, that if By My Beard had all of those units together there at the end, rather than a few chasing the Stegodon, he may very well have won that. It was a very close, pretty scrappy fight. Appreciate RubberDuckofWar sending this one in, and By My Beard for playing a really good match with him. So definitely appreciate both the players here. Again, I've got RubberDuckofWar's channel linked if you want to go check it out. Appreciate him sending me replays from time to time. It is nice to have it. He makes great content. And I love seeing all these folks creating content in Total War. It's been really good. You ever notice there's a lot of Total War Warhammer 2 videos on YouTube? And a lot of them get quite a few views. That's great. Good. This is the kind of thing that I want to see the Total War community grow. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. I love seeing all the different flavors of content creator out there and all the stuff people are making, even if it's stuff that I don't go watch. I'm glad people make it because I want the community to grow, right? Way back in the day when myself and maybe one or two others were the only content creators out there for Total War, sure, it was fun, like being part of that small crowd, but it's great to see it grow and to see it expand, and I hope it continues to do so. I want to see Total War, like people talk like, oh, it's kind of a niche game. I don't want it to be a niche game anymore. I want it to be a huge game. Want it to continue to thrive. Why? Because I like it, and I think more people would like it if they try it. Anyway, HeirofCarthage signing out for now. Hope you all enjoyed this one. I will see you soon with some more content in Total War Warhammer 2.